Well, or it was Ankita.
No, someone just took my screen sharing down, or for some reason it went down. Just give me a second again. Yep, it should be up again.
There it is.
And yeah, we're also live.
Oh, great. We have Vivek. Do you want to try to host and we'll see how the bandwidth holds up?
Yeah. So, hello everybody. I welcome you all to Lify's first dev meet in the year 2025. So I wish you all a very happy new year. And I'll be quickly dropping this minutes in chat. All can go and take a look at the agenda items that we're discussing and also write your name in these.
Apologies to interrupt, Vivek. I think I can go ahead with sharing the screen and you can go ahead with hosting.
Yeah, okay.
Yep, that'd be helpful because your voice is cutting in and out, Vivek. Great. So we're ready.
Anita, simply can you be the host?
Oh, sure. Perfect. Hey there, everyone. A very happy new year to all of you, and a very good morning, good evening, and good afternoon from whichever part of the world you hail from. Thank you so much for joining this Meshery development meeting that we have this week. It's the first day of this year, and let's hope and expect it becomes worthwhile. And I would request all the folks in this call, if you're a newcomer or an old timer, please feel free to add your name, or you must add your name in the attendees section here. Vivek did drop a link to this specific meeting minutes in the chat section, but I'll go ahead and add it again. You can click on this link here and come up to this page, add your name in the attendees section. I'll quickly take a moment to check if we've got some newcomers on this call, and probably we can cover up one or two folks. So, Dipan, is this the first time that you're joining this call? If yes, do you mind unmuting and introducing yourself? We'd love to get to know you better. Specifically, who are you? Where are you from? And the tech stack that you're looking for, and how did you get to know about us?
Sure. Hi, Ankita and everyone. So I'm Deeptanshu. So I just came to know about Meshery around 4 days back, and I've been trying to look at the issues, look at the discussions, trying to solve simple issues, whatever I can. And right now, I'm a master's student at University of Colorado Boulder. So I'm currently in Boulder, United States, and I was actually pretty much interested. Like I also have been contributing to open source in the last 2 months, and I was looking to get more involved into Linux Foundation. So that's how I found out Meshery and been trying to contribute as much as I can. I reached out to a few people on LinkedIn as well, and everyone has been very helpful and responsive in Meshery. So yeah, looking forward to getting any contribution accepted in the first month of this 2025.
Thank you so much for a wonderful intro.
So,
And yep, rest assured, you'll probably end up with an issue by the time we end this call. So, and you can get started or kickstart your contributing session here. Welcome
sure.
again.
So thank you. Thank you,
Yep.
Ankita.
Yeah. So any of the other newcomers that we might have, keeping in mind that we've got a couple of issues to tackle or cover up in this call, we'd really appreciate if you could drop in your intro in the chat section, and rest assured, we will be going through all of them and making you feel warm and cozy in this community. So go ahead and please add your introduction in the chat section. With that, I would probably go up with any of our standing agenda items. So it's a tradition that we follow where we go through a couple of standing agenda items or components that we deal with in this call. First, to ask the maintainers to give a brief overview on where are we, how are we doing, etc. So I'll just quickly check in if we've got Matthew up here with us. I believe not. We don't have him here, so probably we have to skip the Meshery CTL agenda item and move on to the UI migration. So I think I can take this up, Sudhanshu, if that's okay for you, and Antoinette, and you can share your thoughts with this. So here we are on 1st of Jan. I believe the screen should be visible. So this, what we are doing with our UI migration is we are migrating our Meshery's existing UI that uses Material UI version 4 or is running on Material UI version 4, and we are migrating it to MUI v5. And we're also incorporating our design system that is Systent, a bunch of its components. I'll probably list down all of these links below so that you can refer to them. But a quick area on where we stand right now. So we were covering a bunch of these pages that we have on Meshery that a set of user-centric pages. And out of all of these pages that we tend to have, we've got a total count of 15, of which we've merged 4, which is 2 new PRs have been merged since last week. I've raised 3 new PRs, bringing getting the to-dos from 4 to 1 and raising the PRs. We've got 1 merge conflict resolved, so that's another bonus. And there's 1 component, that's the pop-up component that's remaining, which will be tackled tonight. We're almost 90% done. It's a tedious process of going through and merging all of these PRs. We can go through like 4 or 5 PRs at max in a day. So we should be able to get at least 4 more tonight, and then hoping to get the rest resolved tomorrow or as soon as possible. So that's the status with the page is that we tend to have. I'll quickly pause in for a couple of seconds to see if someone has any question in this regard, some remarks or feedback, or probably if Sudhanshu and Antoinette have something to share.
No, not specifically from my side. Not reviewing those.
Great. Then I'll move ahead with the components. So basically what, as I mentioned earlier, we have Systent, which is our design system. What we do is we went through and migrated all of the Systent components to use MUI v5 first. So, and the status with this is all of them are now using MUI v5. They're all up and done. So that's the start with this. We've tested those components and they're up and live. There was one theming issue with a specific component, and Sudhanshu and I are trying to figure out why that doesn't reflect, which is the styling tabs component that we have on a couple of pages, but that should be down. We've got a PR up for it. And here's what our next target looks like. So as I mentioned earlier, we've got 1 component remaining and the rest of these have to get merged. That you can see here. So that would be it from my end on the stats that we have on migration. For folks who are wondering where they can find these issues, I'll link a couple of them below. And I'll also add a link to a spreadsheet this particular spreadsheet that we follow that has all of these PRs, the stats, etc. So I guess we can quickly move on to the next agenda item if we do not have any questions. I'll quickly check in chat to see if we've got someone. Yep. Looks like not a question regarding the UI migration. So the next part of our standing agenda item would be the release plan. So to the folks who aren't aware, a bunch of you must have received the version 8 release emails, and you must have checked that out on our discussion forum as well. I'm not sure if Lee, you would want to come up and share a bit about this.
Yeah, I have a question about the MUI migration.
Sure.
So we have well, eight open PRs, 4 a day, so maybe a day or 2 more.
Yes.
Are there any? Are we learning anything? Like, are they going? Are we hitting bugs as we go through the PRs? Are we finding that?
The reason it's taking a bit longer is because we have to check it on various stages, because a couple of components are used scattered all around. So to test the behavior, somewhere some sizing doesn't match, some theming doesn't match, or with System, the import, it's not to the place. Like we've got a search bar. The workspace and environment pages are live. They are the best evidences. It's not aligned properly. So we have to go back to System, put a PR there, merge it, and then come back and then merge this PR. So those are a couple of things that are keeping us aback, and we are getting limited to at max 4 PRs a day. So
Yeah,
that's one.
or that's been the pace. There's no actual limit, right? It's just that's
Yes,
been
there's no actual limit. That's the pace, because Sudhanshu and I have to get on calls to get that going.
Are we testing with both the local provider and a remote provider?
Yes. Sudhanshu, please correct me if I'm wrong. We've done it for both.
Yes, Iman and Meshery and locally.
Good. And so with each PR merge, are all the end-to-end tests passing?
Yes, the ones that are merged, all the end-to-end tests, like we didn't merge them until they were all up. So it was a green signal for those.
In last PR, like except two, every one's what passed.
There's a DCO that was failing. Just a second. I think we've got a merged PR here. This one adapters. Yeah,
That's
two
great.
failed. Sorry.
Okay, good. But of the ones that are being merged, you guys are making sure that the end-to-end tests stay up to speed. So that's great. Good. Well, then the next topic you were bringing up had to do with the roadmap. So we just late last year, which was yesterday, we released the Meshery.8. And so now all of us are planning on what's next for .9. This page here is, well, it's up to speed. It's accurate. It's time to send it out for everyone to review the draft that's here. There are some items, actually, the ones that the CLI refactor that Husseina has her name next to, those are a couple of years old, actually. I don't think we're going to get to them. Like, we should probably consider that they be removed, or at least that Husseina isn't going to get to them. So anyway, it would take a little while to go through each area. I think it's certainly worth doing so. We should take a moment to go over the themes for the release. So thus far, at least from what I've seen, it looks like it's the larger bodies of work have to do with, well, supporting ASO, or the Azure Service Operator. If you're not familiar with the Azure Service Operator, it is that public cloud's answer to how to provide Kubernetes compatible APIs for many of its non-Kubernetes services. So how to spin up a VM, but doing so through a Kube API compatible, a Kubernetes compatible API rather. And so it's a collection. Actually, I don't know if it's a single operator or a collection of operators. I haven't spent much time with ASO myself. So there are question marks behind many of these line items. So we'll, as we send this out for review, we'll be looking for maintainers and contributors, new or old, to signal interest and to sign up to help go through design specs, help go through implementation and documentation writing and test writing, and the full life cycle and delivery of these features. So that's one significant body of work, is not just the Azure Service Operator, which would give, well, Meshery support for Azure, a whole new public cloud, but it's also a bit of uplifting around AWS and GCP. There's a body of work that's needed to be done to enhance the way that connections are managed in Meshery, connections and credentials. Part of that has to do with how Meshery then connects to public clouds. So Meshery has about 5 different types of supported connections: Prometheus, Grafana, GitHub, other Meshery servers, Kubernetes. And and GitHub, if I didn't say that. And so with each of those connections, Meshery has to be taught how to integrate with the APIs of each of those other systems. The way that Meshery supports such a large number of technologies, the 300 and something models that you see, those 300 and something integrations, those are all done under a single common API, the Kubernetes API. So given that all of those technologies are integrated into Kubernetes, Meshery is able to take advantage of that and interface through Kube API. But as Meshery goes to interact with other systems, like GitHub, for example, or directly to Prometheus, those are different API interfaces. So custom support needs to be written. Good. In order for Meshery to support the discovery of public clouds and infrastructure that users might already have in those clouds, Mesh Sync would need to be enhanced to, it's highly likely that Mesh Sync will need to be enhanced to help support some of those clouds a little bit better. Some of those non-first class Kubernetes resources. So if there is an Azure VM or GCP instance, they are represented through Kube API. With that said, they have any number of new components, any number of new properties on those components, and the way that, and like using the AWS's integration, AWS's hack, the AWS controllers for Kubernetes, the way that brownfielding works, or the way that discovery works of existing resources, requires a bit of enhancement in Mesh Sync. And so I'm assuming the same would be true for Azure. So that's the first sort of body of work around infrastructure management and configuration management. As a matter of fact, maybe I should, if you scroll up just a little bit, just to make sure that, or I guess I'll share, and I'll just show the same page. So a link to this roadmap should go out to the developers at meshery.io, that mailing list today. Just calling for feedback, soliciting questions and input, and helping everyone understand how to write design specs as well for these features, or whether they're features or chores, just internal infrastructure. So the topic that we just discussed was infrastructure lifecycle and configuration management. Those topics kind of fall under that genre, that category, that feature theme, if you will. There's some stretch goals that we won't go over. So one of the functional areas in Meshery is its internal registry and how it treats models, how Meshery models the infrastructure that it manages, whether it's infrastructure or any capability that someone wants to register. Someone wants to register the ability. Let me not explain the difference between. Let me not digress. Let me just say there's work to be done within the registry and models. One of those pieces of work would be that Meshery would support policies as more of a first-class resource than it does today. So Meshery has an internal evaluation engine that leverages, right now it largely leverages open policy agent, Rego policies, to evaluate relationships between components that Meshery manages or entities that Meshery manages. Cool. We've talked a lot about this. We've had deep dive and trainings on how Meshery uses open policy agent. Despite all of that body of work that's been done to date, policies are not a first-class resource, not first-class represented in Meshery's set of schemas. There is a repo inside the Meshery org called schemas, and it has all the schemas for the logical constructs that are hardened and represented in Meshery. It's more or less the formal definition of Meshery's API nouns, so to speak. So one of those that's missing is policies. To support policies or to support anything as a first-class citizen, that means that Meshery UI and Meshery Server and Meshery CLI and a number of different components need to be, Meshery architectural components need to be upgraded or enhanced to support policies. Policies should then become another entity inside of a model. So it's worth pointing out this real fast. I hope we didn't call it mesh model. It's worth pointing out kind of what those models look like. We've certainly done that on this call a few times, if I can find it. No, I don't know. Anyway, I'll let you find it. There's an example in Meshery docs, and here a visual example of what models are and what they contain. They need to contain policies. I'll pause. Does people have questions on policies? Mostly that you have so many questions, you don't even know where to start. So I get it. Anybody want to venture one? Good. So we've had a couple of open policy agent maintainers on the call. Oh, I don't know, a few months ago, just helping prepare for this. Okay, that's one big body of work around policies.
Actually, I have one question regarding that. Like, would we be differentiating between the policies that we have for relationship evaluation and the general policies that we might have?
Yeah, we would. Yeah, good question. So what's a quick way to show that? Just in the same, or the proposal is that in the same way that we have Meshery has defined relationships and given relationships a set of classifications, a relationship being a kind, type, subtype, and being able to really classify relationships based on, classify. In the same way that we would be able to classify policies. So the majority of the project's focus on policies has been for use of evaluating relationships. However, policies and Meshery having an internal policy engine is very helpful for evaluating any number of other things other than relationships between components. So, and so there's a number of examples of how they might be used otherwise, which which is a good concept to bear in mind as design specs are worked through here, that the design doesn't myopically consider that policies are only used for relationships, but they are also evaluated evaluated for other use cases. That just has me thinking for a moment about how policies or any content that Meshery has is packaged as a model. That's fine. The same packaging would still be used. You'd still package up your custom policies, or Meshery as a project would ship custom policies to authorize a user to be able to make a deployment, for example. And that policy doesn't have to dictate a relationship between a component, but it would still be packaged and versioned and imported and exported from Meshery in a model, just like any other, just like any other artifact inside of a model, any other content that Meshery has. So, okay, all right. So that's the second decent sized body of work. Now, most of you are pretty bored at this point, especially if you're not seeing visuals, designs, and graphics and things that, or if this doesn't make sense. The idea of a workspace is pretty significant to Meshery. And there's been some recent work that has really hit the mark. And so we're still hopeful that Meshery will have shared projects, shared workspaces as a way of facilitating and enabling collaboration for teams that are using Meshery and how they collaboratively manage their infrastructure. Okay, Meshery is a highly so anyway, that might be about the third, depending upon how big workspaces gets. But there's basic support for workspaces today inside of Meshery. You can we're hoping to extend it. Extensibility and extensions. Meshery is an extensible management platform. There are at least three planned plugins or extensions for Meshery as of now by this community, but there may be others that come forth depending upon who shows up. As a matter of fact, Akansha, a Red Hat engineer, was just talking about a Meshery shape builder yesterday as an extension to the project to be able to draw polygons, and maybe that should be listed. So we're going to talk more about, we'll talk more about these in a little bit, I think, because hopefully Pranav Singh is with us and we'll take a look at the work that is going on here. There is, I think there's a desire for, distributed performance management within Meshery. Right now, there are load generators internal to Meshery server. Well, or internal to the Meshery container that is shipped. You can generate load against your infrastructure, and as you do it, Meshery will does so from a single load generator. If you wanted to represent maybe traffic load upon your infrastructure that's coming from many different clients, as it might in the real world, well, if the internal load generators that are shipped as part of the Meshery container today, those are pulled out and put into an adapter. You can run as many adapters as you like. And so there's been a planned work for that type of support, and actually more than just distributed load generation. Right now, the maintainer that we've had from Intel on the performance adapter, well, they had a restructure. They had Intel has been doing some reorganizations. So Xin Huang hasn't been active for a little while. He's got some other things to focus on. All right. Well, so under this large category, under performance management as a category, there's I don't know if Sangram Roth, another maintainer, if he spoke on the state of Prometheus and Grafana this past Meshery dev meeting. If he did, then this work here and these plans have been made quite some time ago that would address a lot of the concerns that he would have raised. And so if anything were to come out of a stretch goal, perhaps it would be the custom telemetry provider, the enhancements to how it is that Meshery deals with Prometheus and Grafana. Those are supported connections, but a single instance of Meshery server only supports connecting to a single Prometheus instance and a single Grafana instance. And that's no good. Okay. The rest I will let you guys read, so you don't have to listen to me for the rest of the time. Questions? Other questions?
Related to the sorry, I didn't know the protocol. Like, am I supposed to raise my hand or something?
Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, so I was just checking, like, the way you connect with Prometheus and Grafana, at the moment a single Meshery would connect to one of them. So if I have some other hotel collectors running for myself, are we supporting that connection today, or are you looking to support it in future?
No, but we absolutely should. I think like today Meshery doesn't, but or I mean, from my perspective, we absolutely should. Um, uh,
Hmm.
we want to.
Basically, so the question more is pertinent to, I come from the Prometheus and hotel world. So there's a war going on that side of the world, that should we do hotel or should we do Prometheus based, and like should you have a mix of everything, and should you have the like dedicated stuff for metrics and stuff. So if today we are not doing something like a hotel collector or something like that, do you have a like option for me if I wanted some logs or something to be like connected to Meshery, something like that?
Like OTel compatible log, like an OTel compatible interface for getting logs from Meshery
Something
server.
like, yeah, something like Loki, or something like some kind of logs that I can get into my Grafana and know that my Meshery is fine. At least that is working.
Yeah, and just to clarify, in this case, the perspective that you're thinking of this from is logs from infrastructure that's under Meshery's management flowing into Meshery and it being okay. Yeah, great. Yeah, for sure. For my part, and I'm just one of the voices. I absolutely have an appetite for that, for sure. Meshery does support through one of Meshery's extensions, and maybe through Meshery proper. We should probably talk about that. There's an extension that Meshery has that supports log streaming from Kubernetes pods, and but it's not OTel compatible, and it's not. Those logs are not persisted. They are transient. They are there for a session that you would initiate, and you'd be able to then see those logs and kind of search through them. But it is not there's nowhere near the robust sort of thing that you're thinking of that Meshery, for my part, I think that Meshery absolutely should. The project had gotten started very early with metrics as its first sort of pillar of
Yeah,
focus.
yeah, makes
And
sense.
that was largely due to the fact that it was in terms of performance management, it was focused on, well, it had a very service mesh centric, kind of network centric genesis, and the ability to measure the impact, like the performance of your infrastructure under different configurations, and to then see how one configuration that might be more resilient but also might have an impact on performance. Meshery is set up to help facilitate that sort of like ongoing testing and then changing of config and then testing again and comparing the results. And so a very metric centric thing. And so Meshery does have, I don't know if Sangro mentioned this, but support for custom PromQL queries if people want to put those in, but
Oh,
it is a dated area in Meshery. Like there's a good reason why
hmm.
this is a theme, or like the ability to. And so yeah, those are good questions. I don't know if one of these might link to something that would give us a sort of a decent picture as to what this current proposal is. This is inside the Meshery architecture deck. And
Okay.
this picture, right? Yeah. I think when I went full screen, it probably didn't share with everyone. So I go full screen. This has been planned for a while, which is why it says Meshery is the extensible service mesh manager, and it should be cloud native manager. But the plan for some time, at least as it was focused on metrics, had been the ability for people to take advantage of the existing investment that they have into their Grafana boards, use Grafana's SDK to read those boards, pull them in. Meshery does that today. We've always struggled with Grafana's SDK a little bit, but it does do that successfully, and it reads then the data, the Prometheus data source from Grafana. It can do it. My memory may fail. I think it does it. It not only does it do it, Meshery do it direct from Meshery server to Prometheus, But in the case that Grafana is present, I don't recall if it asks Grafana, who in turn asks Prometheus, or if it just goes direct. But either way, those are the two kind of telemetric integrations. And so, yeah, it's PromQL centric. That integration predates OTel as a thing. And so,
Okay, I got a very comprehensive picture, and I see the area where I think I'll be able to help Meshery now. It's pretty straightforward to me now, like, because I come from that part of the world where like we've been working on Hotel, Prometheus, and Grafana centric stuff for a while now. So yeah, makes sense for me now.
oh, nice. Yeah, good. Yeah, one of the things that Abid had brought up recently, Abid Sophie, was though the idea that I just alluded to one of Meshery's extensions being able to connect to Kubernetes pods and have that log stream, and that it had long been considered that that might be a terminal like this, potentially across the bottom of the entire, like that might be really sort of might be useful somewhat universally as a handy.
Yeah, I click on something and I see, okay, what's going on with that stuff in bottom of the screen. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yeah, one of the reasons it was, well, I hate to say it, but it was potentially as as something of a crutch for the Meshery in the past had a lesser capable notification center, and so the one that Meshery has now is much improved, and it's much. But if you were to ask Meshery to manage a piece of your infrastructure, and maybe you said you wanted to deploy a pod, right? It used to be the case that it wasn't always clear what had transpired, and so you sometimes had to go to the kubectl to then query and see if it had been done, and it's like that's terrible. That's a failure on the project. And so part of the thought was that, oh yeah, a readily available terminal at the bottom would be fairly helpful as a crutch there. I think hopefully the notification center circumvents that need and addresses, like, helps you stay in sync with what's going on with the infrastructure. With that said, there's still, or I would suggest there's still an ongoing, there would still be a desire to pull up the terminal for any number of other reasons, or even to the extent that the data here just isn't what you were looking for and you needed to verify something else.
Yeah, when you try to, like, basically my perspective is also from the point of view of I need my engineering leadership to buy into this, like how Meshery can help us. And like telling my teams to have an environment where they can depend on the notifications would be hard, but give them a terminal, let them do what they want to, very easy to buy them into because they're used to putting that terminal to work all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Yep. There's man, I really like that, what you just said. Like there's some psychological aspects, if that's an approach that, like,
Actually,
there's
in a technical meeting, there's like psychology going on.
yeah, there's a bit of a transition that people need to facilitate as well. I mean, that's certainly like one of the things for this Canvas extension in Meshery, this visual way of designing and controlling, operating your infrastructure, that like at one point someone had suggested that, oh, there'd be an augmented reality version of this where you can, physically kind of, it's like, well, that sounds really cool. I don't know that it's kind of a leap. Like we might need a transitional path for people to get comfortable with the fact that, like, my mouse is a pod, and if I punch it, then it gets deleted, or whatever that augmented reality thing was going to be. And so anyway, I've totally digressed. I just looking at the time and then realizing, thanks for this, Kapil. There's one, I'm a bit anxious actually, because there's one thing, I don't want to blow up Pranav's head or anything, but Pranav, for my part, I've just been chomping at the bit to help make sure that you're empowered with the right secrets and
Yep.
things that you need to be able to work this through.
Yeah, I can share my screen if you have
Yeah,
time.
that'd be great.
Okay. Hopefully my screen is visible and I'm audible. So,
Yeah, you are. Yep, it is.
okay. So first thing I can show the status. So those who don't know, Meshery, we have a lot of plugins. One of the plugins on which I was working on is the Helm canvas. So if you use Kubernetes, you might also be using Helm to install your applications. So Helm plugin for Meshery helps you take a quick snapshot of your Helm chart, and then you have a publicly available URL on which you can like just share the link and have a quick understanding of your infrastructure. So one thing is like you mentioned, you updated the secret, so I made a new release, but still like the specific secret is not working, so it's not able to trigger this snapshot service, this this thing. So for reference, I can also show that I built the binary with my token, and it was able to run the thing just few minutes ago. So I'm not sure why
Yeah,
it's not working.
yeah, yeah. We might have, I might have my wires crossed, or some wires might be crossed somewhere, and that is
Okay.
that actually I think the intention has been, the intention has been that the workflow that would get invoked would be
Yeah.
the one under, not the one inside of this repo,
Okay.
but inside the Canvas snapshot repo,
Okay.
in the separate org.
Oh, okay. But
Would
like
that,
I'm using the same thing. Like you are asking about using the workflow that same canvas dot YAML, right? That one, the new one, this one. So I'm using this only. It's
yep,
triggering it. Yeah.
and the token that you're using
Yeah.
should have
Yeah.
full access. You know,
Yeah. To this one, to this repo.
the error that you get back though is that the workflow itself fails to
Trigger.
be
Yeah.
invoked.
It says bad credential. Like I shared on the Slack. I don't have the screenshot right now. I'll just share.
Let me see
Yeah.
if
So earlier I added a debug statement and it said the credential is bad. Yes.
401. And well, the positive side of this is that, hey, when it does have the right token or permissions to do it, you were able to,
Yeah. Like I
yeah,
can show you this link is publicly accessible. So I click on this, I get just that it takes the screenshot little earlier. So all those things are like scattered away.
yeah.
Yeah.
Man, I'm excited about this though. Like in general, just that, like, hey, almost everybody has a few Helm charts laying around. If they want to just quickly visualize their Helm chart, that they can use a Helm plugin to grab a snapshot and get,
Yeah.
and have and like, I don't know, a few minutes later have this image in their inbox. Um,
No, currently we don't send an email. Like, do we also need to send an email? Like, I thought
yeah.
I read the design spec as well. It's what mentioned it would be the next step. The first step would be just a screenshot. The next would be sending an email.
Oh,
Uh,
um, yeah. Well, Ijoma had, just, I don't know, we had a good, we really facilitated the transition of Ijoma away from the project. There's some,
okay.
um, whether people get an email or they just get a link back, wonderful. Like it's a success either way. I mean, getting the link back right there on the command line is quite convenient.
Mm.
To the extent that you have to wait 5 minutes or so, maybe.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of I could, certainly if I was sitting there and then I'm wondering, hey, is this thing still working? What's going on? So we should definitely, if we're going to support this way, we definitely need to give, even if we were to give them like an ongoing ticker, as a user, I would still get impatient and say, I don't think it's actually, there's no intelligence here. It's just going to be ticking forever. So, but if it says, hey, it will take up to 5 or 6 minutes to leave this running, if after 10 minutes, then, or whatever, but there is yeah. For my part, wait, Abid or Yash or others that have worked on this, do you guys, I guess I hadn't envisioned that the workflow that would be invoked is the one inside of the Helm Canvas repo, but rather the one inside the Meshery extensions packages repo. I guess it doesn't matter though. It shouldn't matter. And your credentials should be good. Let me send you the token, the PAT, the personal access token for this user, so you can use it interactively and see if there's some. It's possible. I guess I didn't check. It's possible. I didn't think that we were invoking the workflow on this repo, so it's possible that that repo has a locally defined secret that is overriding the org level secret. That's the only thing I can think of. Man, there's going to be, okay. So are you going to get a byline on the blog post? Is that, are you thinking?
No, I'll post without a byline as well. That doesn't matter.
Oh yeah. Well, no, it does to me. I want your name on there. Let's, actually what's important, like, let's get a blog post going. Let's, let's go tell the Helm community too, just as soon as we get you a credential. Something that would be really nice to follow up on, Pranav, is that there is, now that that's working right there, have you had a chance to test out the email API?
No, not yet. I can test that.
Yeah, it'd be nice if that was part of that blog post, if that was part of the initial. Nice. Okay. Well, Ankita, back to you.
Sure. So with our standing agenda items done, and my next topic would basically be in and around all those open PRs. I think we can save us some time and probably move up with Sagnik. Sagnik, if you're still here, we can take yours up. Lee, would that be okay if we?
Yeah, please. Yep,
skip?
please.
So just a quick.
Hello.
Yes.
Okay. So just a quick heads up. I like the main issue. This is my first meeting joining here. So I just got a mail like I have been doing some contributions and if I would like to move our agenda forward. So I just put my mail issue here. I was facing some issues in this PR, but I resolved it right now. Like all test cases were passed. So I don't think I have anything else to discuss on this topic as per. That's all I would like to say. I didn't know if this was what do you say was supposed to be brought up in the meeting.
Yeah, this is good. Yeah, Sagnik, this is good, man. Thanks for picking up this issue. There's a gentleman, another contributor on the call that would be good to introduce you to, Dev Hindo or Ahmed.
So you would want to use the make commands in the make file and the root of the Meshery repo for building the server. You can use make server with adapters. There's multiple ones. They actually contain the commands to build the server, like cd to server.
Okay.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah, you can check it out.
Yeah, sure. From my side, this is as much this is my final PR and all tests checks are done. So if there's any changes or to be done.
Thank you so much for sharing this, Sagnik. I've requested Hindo to check this out, and he'll ensure the remarks are left, or we can go ahead with merging. Thanks a bunch again. I think we can quickly move ahead with. I guess we've got Vivek up here. Vivek, if you've got a stable bandwidth, do you want to go ahead with this?
Yeah, I can quickly try. Do interrupt me if it's not stable. So I'll quickly introduce our Meshery catalog. The link to it is in chat. So right now, if you were to visit this page, you would find all the published designs and templates, and that you can take a look yourself. So there are a couple of filters based on which you can take a look at the designs. And the new filter that I introduced was this types one. So currently, like awesome filters designs, you can take a look, and in the future models policies they will be available. So you can then accordingly navigate the catalog. So that was it. It's live. It's already merged. So and link you will find in chat. I'll also drop the PR's link in chat just in case you are interested to take a look at that. So that would be it.
Vishal, if you don't mind, you alluded to another type of content that the catalog would soon support. You want to speak to that one?
Yeah, and so that would be models. And so like technology, they also can be thought of as models. And if you ever have visited Meshery dashboard, that is our playground.meshery.io, you will see various models. So currently from the front end part in the site, there's this capability of showing all the models, but we are lacking the models into this GitHub repo. And so there's some machine enhancements needed for us to be getting that data from the spreadsheet to this GitHub repo so that we can display them all.
Nice. So I'll regurgitate that real fast if I could, just for my own understanding and maybe everyone else's. And that's to say that this Meshery catalog, it's replete with infrastructure designs or architecture designs, whatever someone has put into their Meshery design. Great. Generally, these designs are thought of as being reusable or relatively well done. These become examples that others can take and use. We've been working with CNCF staff actually on CNCF architectures and helping get the architectures published here and getting people credit for their designs and tracking the statistics of how much they're used. And great, that's what the catalog does today, broadly. You were just saying that soon, all of those technologies that we see, like when you visit meshery.io, just the main page itself, there's a collection of like 300 something technologies. Each of those technologies are representative of a Meshery model. So if you click on one of those, that one's the AWS node termination. That model just has a single component called terminator. Cool. It'll be back at some point. Okay, never mind. It's a bad joke. Good, that's a model. If someone wants to customize the model, add their own components, or if they wanted to just create their own model and contribute it back to the community, you're saying, hey, very shortly, that the Meshery catalog will not only have designs, but it'll also have all 300 or so models that Meshery currently supports, plus the ability for anyone to contribute a model if they want to. Is that?
Yeah. And so we also, and so we also have a dedicated guide on that. What's the model and how you can contribute to it. And then once like it's published and approved, it will be appearing, on the catalog. So I've dropped the link to the quick start for models in chat.
Nice.
Like for the models, like are we supporting some levels of like support, like we have our catalog, like these are official, these are user contributed.
So
The
like I
class
think you
that we
are.
have catalog items.
So I think you are referring to designs being categorized as community and,
Yeah.
no, so for models, like there is no such plan right now, but yeah, you're right that some would be contributed by contributors that we would need to find a way to also categorize them as such. But right now, the answer would be no, I think.
Yes, I mean, yeah, if I may, just to add some more color to that. So, Abid, you were just noting that, like, hey, there's another catalog from this remote provider, Layer 5, and this catalog has a set of, well, content classifications. Really like how well supported is a piece of content? Is this, whoa, look at that. There's Pranav guy. That guy gets around. Anyway, the question is Pranav's design on the guestbook app, is it, what level of support might I expect as a user if I were to use this guestbook app? And good. And so you were pointing out there's these 3 levels of classification for content that's out in the, just like on Docker Hub or a different catalog. Is it, if it's official from Docker, you might expect that it probably works. And so Vivek, just quick guidance that I might offer, if I could, is that for the models that are contributed by, yeah, anyway, let me not offer the counsel, but just I guess I interrupted just for everyone else's understanding, is to see what Abid was talking about. Like, hey, who produced these, and do they work? Should I expect that they work? And can I extend them? Can I merge? Can I extend your design and merge yours back, or merge my changes back to yours, or that kind of a thing. So good. It's nice to see that for some designs, actually Pranav's app, his design here looks a bit popular. I'm starting to feel intimidated, actually. Good job, Pranav. Good. That's
So we do have the pause and policy ticking, or the time is ticking at this point. So I guess we'll cover up the other issues in the next call. Would appreciate all the contributors whose issues we couldn't cover up today to add them as agenda item for the next week, and we'll ensure that's done. Any other comments or feedbacks that we might have that we can quickly take up? Else we can wrap this session up for the day.
Yeah, before we end the call, I would just like to quickly say that if you are new and you want to get overview on the community and projects where you can be impactful, we have a weekly dedicated call for newcomers, and that would be tomorrow. So I'm dropping the calendar's link in chat. Go and take a look. And yeah, you are more than welcome if you will be joining us.
Thank you so much for that, Vivek. Would highly encourage the newcomers to go ahead and join that call. It really help you navigate through the projects that we have. So with that, thank you so much everyone for joining the call. Hope you have a great evening or day ahead, and wishing you a happy new year again. Happy contributing.
Happy New Year.
Yes.